provision of Section 122 of the Evidence Act 2011. In addition, the court is also entitled to take judicial notice of the codification and publication of all the acts or statutes, the subsidiary legislations, enactments or passed by the National Assembly as contained in the laws of the Federation of Nigeria, published by or under the authority of the Federal Ministry of Justice of Nigeria at various times, because we here are concerned with laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, in which the Criminal Code Act is indicated to be. I have noted and pursued the laws, perused the law and acts codified and published in the laws of Federation 2004 as published. The Criminal Code Act is published in Volume 4, comprising of Chapter C24 to Chapter C48. It is in Chapter C38, which is subsequently indicated as Cap 38. The Criminal Code Act is in Chapter 38 of the Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, and it's also called or shown to be Cap C38 in Volume 4 of the publication. It is apparent, therefore, that the Criminal Code Act is not Cap 45 or Cap C45 in Volume 4 of the Laws of Federation of Nigeria, as indicated in Count 15 of the charge against the respondent. Rather, Criminal Code Act is Chapter 38 or Chapter C38 in the Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004. However, the same Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, Chapter 45 or Cap C45 is the Custom and Excise Management Act. A calm reading of the details of the facts stated as constituting the offense mentioned or named therein will clearly and undoubtedly reveal that it deals with offense punishable under the provision of Section 47(2)(ba) of the Custom and Excise Management Act C45, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, which provide as follows. 47(2) if any person A imports or causes to import any goods or conceal in a container holding goods of different description, he shall be sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years without the option of fine. It follows, in the above circumstances, that the mention of the Criminal Code Act as being Chapter C45 and C45 in Laws of Federation 2004 is a mere mistake in place of correct law. The Custom and Excise Management Act, under which the facts alleged to constitute an offense in Cap 15, is punished or punishable. The offense in Cap 15 is consequently recognizable, and grounded in an extant existing law in Nigeria, in which it was defined and described. It is now unbooked law that a charge preferred or filed for offense under a wrong law will not be rendered invalid or incompetent merely on that ground alone, so long as the offense on the charge are known to be fined and punishment provided for in an extant law. In the results, the answer to the answer posed earlier in this affirmative in both two counts, that the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013, under which the offences of count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8 as well as Cap C45 and Cap C45, Custom and Excise Management Act, all contained in Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, are extant and existing law, which provide for, under which the offences in the counts of the charge retained by the trial court are punishable and punished. The offences once more are recognized, cognizable, and ground instant and existing law in force in Nigeria. assuming without considering that at the commencement of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act, the Terrorism Prevention Amendment 13 was repealed, and such is liable to affect the validity of the defendant's trial. I refer to Section 98 of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2022, which provides 98.1. The Terrorism Prevention Act number 10, 2011 is repealed. 2. Any regulation, order, requirements, certificate, notice, direction, restrictions, authorizations, consents, applications, ongoing cases in courts, requests or things made, issued, given or done under the repeat act shall, if in force at the commencement of this act, continue to be in force and have effect as seen, made, issued, given, or done under the corresponding provision of this act. 98.3 provides any proceedings, prosecutions, sentence, judgments, charge, or course of actions pending or existing immediately before the commencement of this act under any of the repealed acts in respect of any rights, interest, obligation, or liability may be continued and commenced as the case may be, and any determination of any court of law, tribunal, or other authorities or person may be enforced to the same extent that such proceedings, prosecutions, sentence, judgments, charge, course of actions, or determination might have been continued, commenced, or enforced as if the act has not been made, unquote. The import of this provision, particularly section 98.3, is served as a saving provisions which ensures that the amendment of the act does not affect the validity of trial begun under the repeat act. This saving clause or preservation provision is aimed at ensuring that pending proceedings or order of courts are not washed away as a result of the commencement of the amended Act 2022, but to ensure a smooth transition from the repealed Act to the amended Act. The sum total of this is that the enactment of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2022 does not vitiate the trial of the defendant rightly commenced under the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. Consequently, this issue is resolved against the defendant. With respect to the substantive issue, I must start the resolution by outlining the effect of the action of the defendant in failing to put in his defense despite several opportunities afforded him by this court. Generally, in criminal trial, the defendant has the three options available to him. Upon the closure of the prosecution case, he has the option of making a no-case submission to argue that the prosecution has not made out a prima facie case against him to warrant him to enter his defense, or that the evidence led by the prosecution so far has been so discredited under cross-examination that it will be unsafe for the court to convict him. Another option open to a defendant is to put in his defense where he will be opportune to state his side of the story as well as present exculpatory evidence in his favor. The third and the final option is to rest his case on that of the prosecution. The defendant in this case choose to make no case submission, and this court overruled his no case submission on the 26th day of September 2025 and ordered him to put in his defense. It is his constitutional right to do so. He, however, refused to do so. He rather consented to the withdrawal of his learned senior counsel representing him, despite the court employing him to enter his defense on several occasions, even begging him, in the name of God, as a minister in the temple of justice, passionate about justice, as an apostle of Jesus Christ, I begged the defendant passionately and severally, but the defendant was obstinate and refused, and the court had no choice than to foreclose him. The effect of this is that the defendant has chosen to rest his case on that of the prosecution. The defendant this morning confirmed this fact by saying that he has put in his defense.
Yeah, all right. I'm at bat. You know, we are streaming live from channels. We are streaming live from channels on YouTube. And we continue because I know many people will not have the link. So that is why we decided to put it out there so that as we are streaming, we can stream the audio. So that people can understand exactly what is actually happening. This judgment rendition, very, very important. So I got Wendy because I think the network is acting funny. We'll still be on soon. Okay.
Supplied. And I quote, the law is generally settled that an accused person who, at the close of prosecution case, decided to rest his case on that of the prosecution as presented against him is only exposing himself to risk and gamble. The reason being that if the case is such that even if all the prosecution witnesses are believed, yet the offense as charged is still not proved, then the accused may get away with the risk of resting his case on that of the prosecution. By that choice, the accused will have decided not to explain any fact in rebuttal of the allegation made against him. See also the position of the Supreme Court in the case of Ajibade and State Citation Supply, where the court held, and I quote, appellant elected not to give evidence in his defense, but to rest his case on that of the prosecution. The election is within his rights under the law, but the legal effect of the said election is to leave the court of trial free to accept the uncontroverted evidence of the prosecution in proof of the charge, which the court rightly did, in my view, unquote. See also the case of Akim Idiseyin versus Olajide Citation Supplied. The defendant in this case deliberately refused and failed to call any witness and present evidence through his witnesses in rebuttal of the case of the prosecution. The implication is that he admits the case of the prosecution, and the court is entitled to rely on the uncontroverted evidence led by the prosecution. With respect to count one of the charge, the defendant is facing a charge of committing an act in furtherance of an act of terrorism against the Federal Republic of Nigeria by making a broadcast received an ad in Nigeria with intent to intimidate the population and threaten that people will die and the whole world will stand still, thereby committing an offense punishable under Section 1(2)(b) of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. The said section provides a person or body corporate who knowingly in or outside Nigeria, directly or indirectly, willfully, b, commit an act preparatory to or in furtherance of an act of terrorism, commits an offense under this act and is liable on the conviction to maximum of death sentence. The The ingredients of the offense as drawn from the above are: 1. The defendant must be a person or body corporate. 2. The defendant must have done an act preparatory to or in furtherance of an act of terrorism. 3. The defendant must have done the act preparatory to or in furtherance of terrorism act knowingly or willfully, and same may be directly or indirectly. See the case of Ada versus Federal Republic of Nigeria, citation supplied. Looking at the first ingredients, there is no doubt that the defendant in this case is a person. He is known as Nnamdi Kanu. A man is in 50 who stood trial before this court. Thus, the first ingredient is resolved in favor of the prosecution. For the second ingredient, the prosecution led evidence showing that the action of the defendant in making broadcasts threatening that people will die constitutes a terrorist act. Terrorism or a terrorist act, according to online Oxford Dictionary, is, I quote, the unlawful use of violence, intimidation, especially against citizens in the pursuit of political aim, unquote. It is also important to explain what constitutes terrorist acts. Section 1(2) of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013 provides us, and I quote, in this section, act of terrorism means an act which is deliberately done with malice, aforethought, and which A, may seriously harm or damage a country or international organizations. B, is intended or can reasonably be regarded as having been intended to: 1. Unduly compel a government or international organization to perform or abstain from performing any act. 2. Seriously intimidate the populations. 3. Seriously destabilize or destroy the fundamental political, constitutional, economic, social structure of a country or international organizations. 4. Otherwise influence such government or international organization by intimidation or coercion. C. Involve or causes, as the case may be: 1. An attack upon a person's life which may cause serious bodily harm or death. 2. Kidnapping of a person. 3. Destruction to government or public facilities, transport system, and infrastructural facilities, including an information system, a fixed platform located on the continental shelves, a public place, private properties, likely to endanger human lives or result in major economic loss. 4. The seizure of an aircraft, ship, or any means of public or goods transport and diversion, or the use of such means of transportation for any of the purposes in paragraph B(4) of this subsection. 5. The causing of fires, explosion, or flood, the effect of which is to endanger human life. 7. Interference with or destruction of supply of water, power, or any other fundamental natural resources, the effect of which is to endanger human life. D. An act or omission in or outside Nigeria which constitutes an offense within the scope of counter-terrorism protocol and convention duly ratified by Nigeria. The Supreme Court, by my noble Lord Kekerekun, JSC, now the CJN, heard in Abdul Mumuni versus Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I quote, Section 15(2) of the EFCC Act provides, any person who commits or attempts to commit a terrorist act or participates in it facilitates the commission of a terrorist act commits an offense under this act is liable on conviction to imprisonment for life. Section 46 of the Act provides terrorism means any act which is a violation of the criminal code or the penal code and which may endanger the life, physical integrity, freedom of, or cause serious injuries or death to any person, any number or group of persons, causes or may causes damage to public properties, natural resources, environmental or cultural heritage, is calculated or intended to intimidate, put in fear, force, coercion, or induce any government body or institution, the general public, or any section thereof, to do or abstain from doing any act or to adopt or abandon a particular standpoint, or to act according to certain principles, or to disrupt any public service, the delivery of any essential service to the public, or to create a public emergency or create general insurrections in a state. Any promotion, sponsorship of contribution to command, aim, incitement, encouragement, attempt, threats, conspiracy, organization or procurement of any person with the intent to commit any act referred to in paragraph A 1, 2, and 3, unquote. It was further added, and I quote, the crucial aspect of offense of terrorism is the creation of intense fear and anxiety, both physical and psychological, in the mind of members of the public, which has the effect of coercing, forcing, intimidating them to do or abstain from doing any act or to adopt or abandon a particular view, policy, or position to act according to certain principles, unquote. See also the case of Berende versus Federal Republic of Nigeria, citation supplied. In my research, I came across a handbook from the United States Institute of Peace titled Teaching Guide on International Terrorism. Definition, causes and responses, where several definitions of terrorism were given as follows. I quote, the calculated use of violence, the threat of violence to inculcate fears, intended to coerce or to intimidate governments or society in pursuit of goals that are generally political, religious, or ideological. Terrorism constitutes the illegitimate use of force to achieve a political objective when innocent people are targeted. Terrorism is defined here as the current use or threatened use of political motivated and clandestine organized violence by a group which aim is to influence a psychological target in order to make it behave in a way which the group desires. See Judgement drag. The unlawful use of force or violence against persons or properties to intimidate or coerce governments, the civilian populations, or any segment thereof in furtherance of political or social objective is derived from Federal Bureau of Investigations. What therefore, unquote, what therefore constitutes a terrorist act from all the definition above is an act of violence, threat of violence intended to cause fear, put the recipients of such violence or threat in a state of fear. Applying the above definition to the facts of this case, the defendants in several of these broadcasts made several threatening harms to the federal government of Nigeria, the general Nigerian populace, including its own people who claim to fight for, who he claimed he fight for. In an interview with Sahara reporter, in an interview with Sahara TV contained in Exhibit PWW, he was introduced as the founder and director of Radio Biafra. When the defendant appeared on the screen, his nameplate was Nnamdi Kanu, director Radio Biafra. While speaking on the national conference in Nigeria, which was organized at that time, the defendant mentioned the person, unquote. When he was asked about the consequence for this representative, including one Ike Nwanchuku, the defendant was unequivocal when he said, things have changed, and that because the only language that people in the zoo understand is language of violence and force. After all, that very contraction was put together by Frederick Lugard by force. That is what many people don't understand. Lugard killed many people to put Nigeria together, and the killing of people to disintegrate is very simple. If they fail to give us Biafra, Somalia will look like a paradise compared to what will happen to the zoo. It is a promise. It is a pledge. Also a threat to them. They must understand it, that we have had enough of this nonsense. Unquote. It is not noteworthy that defendants in the said interview kept referring to the southeastern part of the Nigeria as Biafra. The defendants made some comments, such as the governor of the southeastern state being the stooge of Hausa Fulani godfathers. He even stated that Rochas Okocha, former governor of Imo, had institutionalized the entire state to satisfy its Hausa Fulani godfather. He said nobody had asked Governor Peter Obi about Izu River and the person dumped in the said river. Further, during the interview, defendants, while answering a question about whether he will embrace a peace separation or choose a violent path, stated at about 7 minutes 30 second mark of Sahara TV interview in Exhibit PWW, which is a flash drive containing all its broadcasts, said, and I quote, "If they do not give us Biafra, there will be nothing living in that very zoo called Nigeria. Nothing will survive there, I can assure you," unquote. He also made reference to the Nigeria Civil War when he said, in 1967 to 1970, it's not 2010 to 2015. Then we had scientists, but now we have people who are not joking. 8 minutes mark in the flash. He said, "I do not believe in peaceful actualization of whatever rubbish is called. I have never seen where you will become free by peaceful means," unquote. The defendant also lent support for violent acts when he said he welcomed what a group known as Biafra Zionist group did when they unleashed violence at the Enugu State Government House. He even said he hoped more people will come out to join his group to overthrow the corrupt and inept persons in administration of the government, stating that Biafra must exist and it is their right to make sure it happens. In the broadcast of 16th May 2021, also contained in Exhibit PW Biafra Television, "I will remain a loyal servant of the people of Biafra." He further stated around 51 minutes mark, and I quote, If God is on our side, which I know He is, the army of Nigeria will die in Biafra land. Everybody will die. I will be the one leading it. by God's grace, everything called Nigeria will perish in Biafra land. The world must be prepared for what is to come. I want to let Catherine Langs and the British government to know that we have chosen the path of death and people are dying every day. We have to develop the mindset of after this, which even though NATO is there, NATO is there. We say that we are ready to die, and everyone that will die. God is my witness. I will lead this burial myself, unquote. Around 55 minutes mark to the exhibit, he said, and I quote, I want the United Government to understand that we are ready to die than be slaves, unquote. At about 1 hour mark, he said, and I quote, Israel was named Palestinians by the Romans because they were, if we blow till the kingdom come, every neat and simple, very neat and simple, unquote. The defendant also stated in that same broadcast, and I quote, we are asking for our freedom, and they are asking listening. But when we start doing what we want, the whole world will start begging us and stop the advance of this army, or else they will kill you. These words spoken by the defendants in those broadcasts were not mere words, as they bear every traces of threats to harm people, including international representatives representing their nation in Nigeria. He said broadcasts were several in numbers, and he kept repeating his rhetorics that people will die if Biafra is not created. The defendant planned to commit the terrorist act did not only manifest in his broadcast, but was shown in a meeting he had contained in Exhibit PWWU. The defendant, while speaking to the audience, stated, and I quote, we must not miss this golden opportunity. We are bound to suffer in this time to come. You must come out to support what we are doing. We need guns and we need bullets. I know we love life so much. Without it, Hausa will overrun us. They have succeeded in imposing Okoroshan on us. They are coming. Boko Haram is coming in Igboland, unquote. A female participant stood up to ask the defendant of his objective, as well as why need for weapons. The defendant responded, and I quote, we now know that the best way to defend ourselves is to be armed, because Boko Haram is everywhere in Zoo, called Nigeria. So we need guns and bullets, and those of you in America will give it to us. Also, on the 22nd day of this month, something will happen called the blood moon. Most of you don't know that just before the Civil War, there was blood moon. There was blood moon in 67, and it only happens once in a while, because after this year, we will be free no matter what happens. If we don't get Biafra, everyone will live to die. We are not joking. Unquote. His intention was quite clear. He believes only in violence as the solution to the creation of Biafra as a nation. And at the said World Igbo Congress, most of the participants were quite alarmed by the expressions as is planned, and so they kept asking if he had considered the option of peaceful dialogue, to which the defendant was adamant that only violence could lead to the achievement of his aim. These threats of violence are nothing but terrorist acts. Seen later in this judgment, the defendant knew what he was doing while making these violent statements. He obviously had an objective which one, the face of it is political. That is secession of the states of Southeast, South-South and some middle belt states from the Federal Republic of Nigeria to form Biafra. The defendant was also bent on achieving his objective with the use of violence, and he didn't mind if his own people die in that process. As one of the crucial elements in establishing crime, the intention and the knowledge with which defendant carried out the acts can be expressed by him. If not so expressed, can be deduced from his conduct or activities or other connected circumstances. See Berede and Federal Republic of Nigeria. From the uncontroverted evidence led by the prosecution, particularly the broadcast contained in Exhibit PWW, it is clear that the defendant committed acts preparatory to and in furtherance of terrorist acts. The defendant had the opportunity to explain, but failed and deliberately refused to take that opportunity. Thus, he did not place any evidence before this court to explain the context of the said broadcast or any reason which may be exculpatory in his favor. Having failed, deliberately refused to enter defense or give explanation, the court will rely on the uncontroverted evidence of the prosecution. This court therefore holds in a broadcast received and heard in Nigeria with intent to intimidate the population, issue deadly threats that anyone who flouts said a sit-at-home order should write his will, as a result of which banks, schools, markets, except that the prosecution must establish that the defendant indeed issue a threat to anyone who flouts said his sit-at-home order in the southeastern state of Nigeria. The evidence as led by the prosecution shows that the defendant issued a sit-at-home. Schools, banks or shops which opened will be destroyed.
Judgment now.
This was the purpose of his broadcast of 30th day of May 2021, where he stated that he had an announcement to make regarding the and nobody should be seen outside tomorrow. I do not want violence. I do not want anybody to resort to violence. I condemn it completely and totally. We do not want to spill the blood of the innocent. Therefore, I am urging restraint across board. I am urging our people to honor the memory of people who died. There will be no school, no church, markets, banks, car on the roads. There will be complete shutdown. If you want to be alive, do not come out tomorrow. What I'm saying past tomorrow will be in trouble. Anybody in any car or lorry except in ambulance will be in trouble. I know some people are very foolish, trying to open their shops around 12. If you open that very shop, we will burn you inside it. Especially Enugu, Umuahia, Abakaliki people. You are very stupid. Tomorrow we will show you his order that might not want to obey his order. The people of the Southeast are Nigerians, and I take judicial notice substantially are Christians who go to church, and merchants that are into trade, and there are children who were threatened against going to church, their places of business and schools. This cause wonders. If this can be said to be agitation for self-agitations, unequivocally, I say no. The people of the southeast of Nigeria are entitled to their right to personal liberty, freedom of movement under Section 35 and Section 41 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. The said section provides, and I quote, "Every person shall be entitled to his personal liberty, and no person shall be deprived of such liberty, save in the following cases, and in order to comply with the order of court, and in order to secure the fulfillment of any obligation imposed upon him by law. C. For the purpose of bringing him before a court in execution of order of court or upon reasonable suspicion of his having committed a criminal offense. D. In the case of a person who has not attained the age of 18 years for the purpose of his education or welfare. E. In the case of persons suffering from infectious or contagious to Nigeria or of affecting the expulsion, extradition, or unlawful removal from Nigeria of any person or the taking of proceedings relating thereto. Provided that a person who is charged with an offense and who has been detained in lawful custody awaiting trial shall not continue to be kept in such detention for a period longer than the maximum period of imprisonment prescribed for him. Section 41 provides, every citizen is entitled to move freely throughout Nigeria, to reside in any part thereof, and no citizen of Nigeria.
The Mazi Judgement is still on, and of course we are streaming live from...
The world needs moms. Providing tasty, nourishing family meals is all that matters. Because where there are moms, there is love. Golden Terra Oil, pure love.
This thing comes, okay. I think we are on right now, and the judgment continues.
The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria thus lacks any power to so declare a seat at home in any part of the country. The defendant arrogated to himself power to he lacks, and with the threat of violence, ordered the residents of the southeastern states subjected to sit at home threats on Mondays for years now. PW4, who stated that he was stationed in the southeast, especially in Imo State for some years, gave evidence that Monday sit at home is a usual occurrence wherein the town are deserted, even the farmlands. PW4 also gave evidence on the death of one Ahmad Goodluck, a former aide to the former into a checkpoint by IPOP, and was shot dead. PW4 stated that he was one of those who got to the scene first. It must be noted that 30th of May 2021 was a Sunday, not a Monday, but notwithstanding, it leads to the death of a person trying to move around due to the directive of the defendant as shown in Exhibit PW2. Is a medical report from the Nigerian Police Medical Services. The report is dated 18th July 2021 and it states, to whom it may concern, medical report. Late Ahmed Gulad Ahmed, hospital number. The victim allegedly shot dead by hoodlums suspected to be IPOB/ECN members on 30th October 2021 at about 7 hours along Airport Road, Owerri. Picture of lifeless man seen, body of disease buried, information. The above medical reports, duly signed by the medical practitioner, clearly states the immediate cause of the death of Ahmed Gulak and links him to the defendant as leader of. The defendant did present any evidence to rebut this case, the case of the prosecution. Consequently, he admits the evidence as presented by the prosecution. The prosecution has successfully proved count 2 beyond reasonable doubt. Consequently, the defendant is hereby convicted of count 2. With respect to count 3, the defendant is charged with professing to be a member and leader of indigenous people of Amendment Act provides, and I quote, any person who is a member or professes to be a member of terrorist group commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a time not less than 21 years. The ingredients of the offense from the above provisions are: 1. The defendant must be a person. The defendant must be a member or professes to be a member of a terrorist group. 3. The terrorist group must have been proscribed as at the time the defendant's claim or professes membership of such group. As earlier established, the defendant is a human being. There is no doubt about that. With respect to second ingredient, prosecution has led evidence showing that the defendant was not just a member, but he was the leader of a terrorist organization known as Indigenous People of Biafra and director of Radio Biafra, Biafra Television, and will remain a loyal servant of the people, unquote. He further stated around 51 minutes mark into the video. If God is on our side, which I know he is, the army of Nigeria will die in Biafra land. Everybody will die. I will be the one leading it. By God's grace, everything called Nigeria will perish in Biafra land. The world must be prepared for what is to come, unquote. IPOP, in a broadcast dated 11th May 2021 in Exhibit PWW, the defendants, while commenting on the meeting of Southern governors held in Asaba, stated around 35 minutes to the exhibits. While played, and I quote, concerning the lockdown announced yesterday, I urge all people of Biafra and all those in Biafra that we have defeated their foot soldiers. Mighty Allah, we must resist this stupid lockdown, and it will not hold in Biafra. I am calling on all the coordinators, deputy coordinator of ECN, ESN, and IPOB not to sleep in their houses today, but to look for somewhere else to stay. Because now we are in the trenches. Now you will know what is freedom. Not sleep at home. Change your phone, and even your phone itself. The defendants no doubt belong to the group and belong to the professing to be a member. He is the leader of the group with the influence
I can conclude
of commanding the coordinators of the group. Not only IPOP, but even Eastern Security Network, which is the armed wing of IPOP. In a broadcast of 12th December 2020, the defendant made an announcement in inaugurating the military group known as Eastern Security Network, which is the armed wing of the indigenous people of Biafra. He stated, and I quote, we have cowards, spineland idiots as governors. They have given over our land to the Janjaweed to occupy in perpetuity. This very generation, this very IPOB will not tolerate it. Not now, not tomorrow, not forever. We will rather all perish and die than to allow our land to be taken over by the Janjaweed. This is a warning to all the governors who are conspiring due to one political consideration to give our land to infidel and blood-sucking demons of the Eastern Security Network to combat the excesses of these vagabonds, criminals from crossing the Jail along the same line as Amotekun, the one set up by Metiala. What we are launching before the world today is Eastern Security Network, not a Biafra army, and we will let the world know when the army is to march. But for our present purposes, we are setting it up to defend our land, Biafra against Miranda from the Shahid, to be precise. In the coming days, you shall see them in their uniform, performing the critical issue of providing security for our land, unquote. The defendants, who was visibly agitated, continue in the broadcast by stating, no governor in the southeast and south-south have been able to form a security outfit. Therefore, IPOD must defend our land to the very last blood. We shall not stop, not now, not tomorrow.
That's right.
Unwrap joy, unleash taste.
Still waiting for the...
With red cap, waving black flag with insignia of Eastern Security Network. This is therefore no respect to the third ingredient. The evidence before this court shows that IPOP is a proscribed group. I take judicial notice of section 2, under section 122 Evidence Act of the order made by my learned brother Nyako J in suit number FA6 People of Biafra, today dated 20th September 2017, wherein the activities of indigenous people of Biafra were prescribed. The said order crystallized into PWJ, which is the Federal Republic of Nigeria Official Gazette number 99.
Let's wait for the network.
In volume 104, dated 20th September 2017, titled Terrorism Prevention Order number Terrorism Prevention Order of 2017. The Gazette reads, and I quote, notice is hereby given that by the order of Federal High Court in suit number this notice, the activities of indigenous people of Biafra are declared terrorist and illegal in any part of the country, Nigeria, especially in the southeast, south-south region of Nigeria, as prescribed pursuant to Section 2 of the Terrorism Prevention Act 2011 as amended. 2. Consequently, the general public is hereby warned that any person or group of persons participating in any manner whatever in any form of activities involving or concerning the prosecution of the collective intention or otherwise of the said group will be violating the provisions of the Terrorism Prevention Act 2011 as amended and liable to prosecution. The import of the above is that beginning from the commencement date of 20th September 2017, any person claiming to be a member of IPOP commits a terrorist act. Section 16(1) of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. Consequently, is hereby convicted of count 3. Or count 4 and 5, which are closely related. The defendant is charged with inciting members of the public in
network. Allow us, please.
Nigeria to hurt and kill Nigeria security personnel and their family members, thereby committing offense under Section 1, Sub 2H of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. The section provides as follows: any person or body corporate knowingly in or outside Nigeria, direct or indirectly, willingly incites, promises, or induces any other person by any means whatsoever to commit the act of terrorism, or any of the offenses referred to in the act, commits an offense under the act and is liable to conviction to maximum of death sentence. The ingredients of the offense which the prosecution must establish beyond reasonable doubt are: 1. The defendants must be person or body corporate. 2. The defendant must have directly or indirectly incite, promise, or induce other persons by any means whatsoever to commit the terrorism act. 3. The defendant must have directly or indirectly incited, promise, or induce other persons by any means, according to the Supreme Court's per Nikitobi DSC of blessed memory in CASA and the state citation supplied. Hold, and I quote, "An encouragement here means an act of making someone to feel brave or confident enough to do something by giving active approval in support of the crime." Incitement also have the element of encouragement. By incitement, the person is provoked by a strong passion or feeling to commit an offense. The word set is a word of quite a number of synonyms. The two words set on connote the resemblance of causing happened by the actions or conduct of a person who is the starter. By the act of instigation, the co-accused is prepared or gingered to commit an offense, unquote. Likewise, the online Oxford Dictionary defines incitement as follows: the action of provoking unlawful behavior or urging someone to behave unlawfully, unquote. The Cambridge Dictionary also defines incitement as follows, and I quote: the act of encouraging someone to do or to feel something unpleasant or violent, unquote. Drawing from the above, the prosecution has led evidence showing that the defendants made broadcasts inciting public to take up arms against the security personnel in Nigeria to kill them and their family members. The broadcast of 24th day of October 2020, as contained in the PWW, the defendants said, and I quote, "Radio Biafra is now in the hands of the enemy of our freedom. I don't know how much they paid for it, but I know that Britain spent over 4.8 billion a few days ago to suppress what is happening. That is what they have done. I told you a while back that Britain was now in charge of what is happening in the zoo, and you thought that I was joking. They have now come with their clamp down, but they are now going. They are not going to succeed. Radio Biafra belongs to us, but why is it not playing out our program right now?" Unquote. The defendant also stated.
Network. Patience.
I am telling you people to go to the bush city convoy. You attack them. Whenever you see a police convoy, attack them. They are human beings and they also bleed. Any person with a police uniform or any army in any others, you should know. You should not by chalk that the woman is a devil, a big devil. She too will get a comeuppance, unquote. The defendant was referring to Katrina Link, the British High Commissioner at that time. The defendant also said, from what will happen in Aba between to places like Aba, like toll gates and other parts of Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, just shoot an improvised bomb. He asked them to go to
network, streaming live, and I think we're supposed to
28th October 2021. The defendant, while inciting his listener to attack the relative or security personnel, stated, and I quote, that every commander they have given his name find his children. I want to get him in trouble. When they take me to court and ask why I said such thing, I will tell them why. Find the commander. His name is Ifu Umata. Find his children. Find his children. The commander of those on the ground. Find their children. Very, very important. Find their children. Unquote. If defendants went for that, and I quote, start attacking the police, take their guns, use them against them, manufacture motor tours, cocktail, manufacture bombs to bomb them, unquote. The defendant at about 2 hours, 44 minutes, 35 second mark, while concurring with a caller who informed him of the intention of him, other IPOB members to burn down the Ezima police station, stated, not only one, I want every police station in Aba to be destroyed, completely destroyed, and burn them down. It is an order destroying them completely. Anybody who sees them with police uniform, kill the person. Nigeria wants anarchy. We will give them anarchy. We speak. Use those guns to kill 1 or 2 of their army officers. Take their guns and begin to kill other people as well. Begin because they cannot sustain this protest for 3 weeks. There are guns in Edo states already. Kill the army whenever you see them. Take their guns and kill, unquote, officers. The defendants even went as far as inciting the public to destroy all properties of the federal government during the NSAS protest of 20th October 2020. The defendant in another live video dated 20th October 2020, the defendant, while responding to calls his foot soldier during the NSAS protest, stated, and I quote, if you leave the Janjaweed and their agents the way they operate, if you leave them, believe you will, you believe me, you will suffer. That very hotel must be brought down. I did not say set ablaze. It must be demolished. As an example to the rest, if you have not dealt with Tinubu in Lagos, the other will not learn their lesson. Tinubu is an evil man. The hotel refers to ambush the security forces during the protest and cut them off. He said, and I quote, go to the bush. You need to cut them off from the back, ambush them, take their guns from them and kill them. They are animals and not human beings. They may be wearing uniform like police or soldier, but they are animals. Disarm them and kill them. If you allow them to escape, your life is over. And I want Lagos Airport to be on flame, breached the perimeter fence, and burn down the Lagos Airport. If you have double barrel or pistol, go to state that the said hotels and Muritala Muhammad Airport and other property in Lagos, they are not in the north, where it seems to hate with passion. Even his own fellow Igbo people have property in Lagos. With destroying the property, the police officers were killed as a result of the incitement by the defendant. Also, Exhibit PWD-2A, which is a compilation of death reports and certificates of death of security officers in the report. The number of police officers who were killed was given as 128. Military officers were 37. Other security officers as 10. Number of police stations attacked were 164. INEC facilities destroyed were 9 in number. This clearly shows the extent of damage caused by the defendants through his inciting statements. Another caller called into the program informing the defendant that he was at Oshodi Apapa Expressway and that they are killing them. The defendant annoyed by this information stated for, and how many police or army did you kill? I don't want to hear that. They are killing you. How many did you kill? Unquote. The caller then responded that they have burnt the Orile police stations and Ilasa police station. The defendant then told the caller not to wave the green flag of Nigeria, but a blood-stained flag with the color green, white, red. He further responded to another caller by saying, what I want them to do is to set ablaze the United building along Marina on fire. Every federal government property in Lagos should be burnt. That is what is going to be signal to the world that people have had enough. I want every federal government building in Lagos to be on fire. Every federal government vehicle or anything belonging to federal government, burn it. Go to the Muritalem Nwanne airport, burn it. How many soldiers do they have? Manufacture your own weapons and ambush them. Unquote. The result of this incitement is the killing of several military officers, police officers, DSS officers. The incitement also led to the destruction of several police stations in Lagos across the southern states of Nigeria. According to PW5, he led a team of officers to investigate the destructions and killing of the security personnel that occurred during the NSAS protest of 20th October 2020, as contained in Exhibit PWD2 and Exhibit PWD2A. These are public properties. The defendants incited people to destroy properties such as the Lassa police station, other police stations, and properties of the government. The evidence before this court shows that the said properties were actually destroyed, such as the Lassa police stations, the High Court of Lagos in Igbo, as well as BRT buses belonging to Lagos State government in Oyinbo. PW2 also testified that military couples were killed by those incited by the defendants in Olu in Imo State. In addition, PW4 stated that his driver and one of his tactical officers were killed as a result of the incitement. The action of the defendants were clear, as it was aimed to cause anarchy by killing security operatives in Nigeria, which would in turn lead to breakdown of law and order. The defendant had an evil intention to wreak havoc on the people and government of Nigeria. All these actions consistent with agitation for self-determination. The answer to this is in negative. His violent outbursts, as well as his instigations of the public to attack and kill security officers in southern Nigeria without provocation, was downright barbaric and without any conscience whatsoever. The defendant did not feel any concern for the family of the officers who were slain. He turned himself to a tyrant who could take life anytime he pleased. Such persons cannot be allowed to remain in society of sane minds. His shocking instigations to kill other human beings was incomprehensible, and this court hereby condemned it. But I must say that the evidence extracted is minute compared to the avalanche of. I must say that evidence extracted in this judgment is minute and very small to the avalanche of evidence and broadcast before this court by the defendant. The defendant made extremely threatening statements, incited people to violence. The prosecution has successfully discharged his burden of proving counts 4 and 5 beyond reasonable doubt. Consequently, the defendant is hereby convicted of the said counts 4 and 5. Now count 6. For count 6, the defendant is charged with the offense of making a broadcast received and heard in Nigeria within the jurisdiction of this court in furtherance of an act of terrorism against the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria, in which he directed members of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, a proscribed organization, to manufacture bombs, thereby committing an offense punishable under Section 1(2)(f) of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. Section 1(2)(f) of the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 provides: 2. A person or body corporate who knowingly the ingredients of the offense expected to be established are: 1. The defendant must be a person or body corporate. 2. The defendant must have assisted, facilitated, organized, or directed the activities of person or organization engaged in terrorist activities. 3. The defendant must have willingly assisted, facilitated, organized, or directed the activities of persons or organizations engaged in terrorist acts. The defendants herein have been established to be a human being. As to the second and third ingredient, the defendant, the production has led every...
These people should wait, Kwenu. Let's get this judgment done.
To show that the defendant has directed members of the terrorist organization to build bombs, order explosive in order to attack security operative. Indeed, in furtherance of its terrorist actions and following the incitement of persons to kill defendant security operative, the defendant also directed his members to build explosive devices. Caller about NSAS protest stated, and I quote, "Now, this night, I want graduates to go to work. Graduates of chemical engineering, those who were born as engineers, manufacture any ordinance you can, because they are coming to kill you anyway, regardless of what you do. Go and manufacture any ordinance. I am calling on the youth in the middle belt, and I want any bridge that they can use to reinforce to be destroyed. They are going to come from the middle belt. This night, we have engineers everywhere, people who are intelligent. Go back now and give us your own version of Mototokote. We must destroy them before they destroy us. That person is your enemy. Attack them, because if you don't, they will kill you. If you are a graduate of physics or chemistry, no sleep for you tonight. Go and manufacture something to destroy the police and every army police position starting from this night." Unquote. During the said broadcast, while responding to a caller named Jacob from Nasarawa State, the defendant even told the people how to build an improvised bomb. He asked them to go to a filling station to get fuel in a bottle, put a rag in it, a hand-drawn incendiary weapon consisting of a fragile container filled with flammable substances, equipped with a fuse. In use, the fuse attached to the container is lit and the weapon is thrown, scattering on impact. Unquote. The online, unquote. Applying the above definition, the directive of the defendant to members of the group to build improvised bombs such as Molotov cocktail is indeed a terrorist act. A Molotov cocktail is capable of causing explosions, damage like any other bombs, which aim is to cause destructions. This directive, like other directive, is a manifestation of anarchy-minded of the defendant, which is set out to express through his Biafra radio, which he claimed to be the founder and director. The defendant, through the radio Biafra platform, carried out so many terrorist attacks, which led to the destruction of lives and property in Nigeria. The defendant is not only confined to local terror at the time, Catherine Lyons, a known woman of peace. In a broadcast of 21st October 2020. The defendant stated thus, and I quote, Radio Biafra is now in the hand of the enemy of our freedom. I don't know how much they paid for it, but I know that Britain spent about 4.8 billion a few days ago to support what is happening. And they also bleed. Any person with a police uniform or any army uniform is your enemy. Around 57 minutes mark into that video, the defendant directed his threat at Cake Demon. Cheese too will go come repentance. Around 1 hour, 8 minutes, 35 second mark, the defendant also stated, and I quote, the same thing that Britain did to Biafra in what they are doing to us now, media blackout. Do you want the world to report this issue? Take over the British High Commission. That is all. Take over the consulate in Lagos. Take over the one in Abuja. Every newspaper in the world will report it in the morning. If you march on the British High Commissioner, why is British Commission in Abuja and Lagos under occupation by Nigerian youth, then it is over. I'm giving you a master strategy of how you should be done. In a formation of 3 lines, there is something I want you to do. I'm announcing it on air so you understand. People should take those doors and put nails in front of them and stand in front of protesters so that bullets cannot go through. Push the door, get the weapons and deal with them. When you are marching to the British High Commission tomorrow, going on. Without that, you cannot succeed, unquote. Even recently, in this courtroom, on the 7th day of November 2025, when the matter came up before this court, the court wondered the kind of malice and hatred which the defendant had for Britain. I will produce same parts of the proceedings of that day here too. Defendants, he says, there are issues at play which my Lord has not able to overcome, which even the prosecution has not even attempted to. You are going to try me or ask me to enter my defense where no law exists. Because if that is the position, my Lord, that means that the outcome of very trial is predetermined. A man of my station and caliber cannot be tried without any valid law. It is impossible, my Lord. I will tell you why. This was the case. This very case is bigger than this court. The case of mine started in 1957 when some brave men and women in this very country dared to ask the British to leave. The funniest thing is that all of them that pronounced that very effort, they all went to jail and were killed. But I'm learning this now. Then ask the British to leave. Defendants. Yes, in 1957, Dr. Antonia Nao moved a motion in the dignity of the black race because they want me convicted. They told me so. Absolutely.
Now, China, I know here this motor show could become. Allow us to hear him. Let him finish. Unapologetically, we are in a very serious here.
Lord, absolutely, 100%. They told me. They said, I will come to court to hear your case when you take your plea. When persecution opens, then their case. When prosecution opens,
you repeat. The other side. You repeat. Nah, you know the tire
into trial. You will be there doing the verdict. You will be there doing conviction. The court now responded. Let me just clarify this. It is also on record. You said that the British said
boy, people are not one here. People are there. Allow us to finish this judgment, Kwanu. Allow us to finish this judgment. Can you not try how much shokuga? Actually, my hokuga, so that we can now know exactly where to tackle the whole thing from.
1 year and a half ago that I was not the one. The way you are putting it, I want to say this. I do not have any relationship with the British. I have come here to do justice. I reiterate. Can you commence your defense so that if you commence today, I can extend time for you because your time has ended today. For the U.S. Embassy, it would have been attacked if not for the closure as a result of the protest. The defendants at about 2 hours, 24 minutes, 50 seconds, mark of the video of 24th day of October 2020 broadcast in Exhibit PWW stated, American embassy is shut down. Why won't they shut down? People are protesting. This statement regarding the embassy of United States of America is quite loaded. The statement could mean several things, none which are palatable or peaceful. What exactly does the defendant mean by the American embassy is shut down? Was he trying to attack the embassy if it has not shut down as a result of protest or incite others to do same as he did in British embassy?
US embassy in this case now. Why you are giving meaning to him maduku?
The inference to be drawn from the statement is that the defendants meant to do harm to the embassy of United States by attacking or invading the embassy under international law. The premises of an embassy or high commission of a foreign nation is deemed inviolable. That means that even though the land belongs to host country, it cannot invade such premises. See Article 22 of Vienna Convention. Article 22 of Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, 1961. It provides thus to take all appropriate steps to protect the premises of the mission against any intrusion or damage, and to prevent any disturbance of the peace of the mission or impairment of its dignity. 3. The premises for execution, unquote. Thus, from the above, it can be said that the defendant incited for people to provide, and I quote, any person who intentionally murder, kidnap, commits other attacks on persons or liberty of an international protected persons. B. Carries out violent attack on official premises, private accommodation, or means of transport of an international protected person in a manner likely to endanger his person or liberty. C. Threatening to commit any such attack, commit an offense, and is liable on conviction to life imprisonment. The High Commissioner is an international protected person, being the representative of the British government in Nigeria as well as other staff of High Commission and Embassy of the United States of America, leaving the defendant to continue his terrorist activity who have led to an international incident involving Nigeria and other foreign nations who are good partners with Nigeria. The question to ask again is whether bombing or attacking embassies of high commissions constitutes an actual show concrete proof of its terrorist acts. Therefore, I hold without hesitation that the prosecution as successfully established can cease against the defendant. Consequently, he is hereby convicted of can cease of the charge. with respect to count 7.
Outside of what the defendant said or what their prosecution.
The defendant is charged with importing into Nigeria and keeping in Ubuluzo in Ihiala, local government of Anambra State, within jurisdiction of this honorable court, a radio transmitter known as Tram 50 to section 47(2)(a) of Custom and Excise Management Act Cap C45 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. The dispute as to which law provides for the offense in count 7 has been conclusively decided by the Supreme Court in case of Federal Republic of Nigeria versus Kanu Supra, where my Lord M.L. Gaba that it deals with the offense punishable under the provision of section 47(2)(a) of the Custom, Excise and Management Act, Cap C45, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, which provides as follows: 47(2). If a person A imports or causes to be imported any goods concealed in a container holding goods of different descriptions, or he shall be sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years without the option of fine. It follows in the above circumstances that the mention of the Criminal Code Act as being Chapter Excise Management Act, under which the facts alleged to constitute an offense in count 15 is punished and punishable. The offense in count 15 is consequently recognizable and grounded in an extant existing law in Nigeria in which it was defined and described, unquote. Thus, the court will follow the evidence led by the prosecution through PW4 is that the defendant imported into Nigeria a radio transmitter known as Tram 550L concealed in container which contain used household items which he described as such. PW4 stated that indeed the search warrant exhibit PWT and proceeded to the compound where they recovered the container. Prior to the going to the scene, PW4 testified that he watched a video of the defendant inspecting the container and the transmitter with Benjamin Modubugu. The court visited where the container was kept in the custody of the DSS and same was admitted in evidence in the presence of the defendant as exhibit PWY, and he did not object to same. The container itself contains several household items which sold item was used to disguise its true content. The surrounding facts also show that the purpose for which the defendant intends to use the transmitter was broadcast program on radio biafra, and this makes it concealed the transmitter. This is also not there is also no evidence that Radio Biafra is registered with Nigeria Broadcasting Commission. The defendant, as a consequence of resting his case on the prosecution, did not call any witness to report the evidence of the prosecution, neither did he lead any evidence to counter the evidence of the prosecution. There is no evidence before this court stating the transmitter was lawfully imported into Nigeria. The defendant had the duty to present evidence and failed to report the allegation made against him, but he failed and deliberately refused to do so. The court is therefore bound to believe the evidence of the prosecution. Consequently, he is only seeking justice for his people. Indeed, this is known in law as the right to self-determination. The right to self-determination is a political right recognized in several international instruments Article 1 of the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, 1966, freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural group of people to form their political entity or their own government. Article 20 of the African Charter on Women and People's Rights also provides, and I quote, all people's rights, ratification, and enforcement rights, which means the provision of the Charter are enforceable in Nigeria, provided they do not conflict with the clear provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. Section 2(1) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended makes it clear that Nigeria is an indivisible state, which means there is no room for divisions. The said section provides, and I quote, Nigeria is one indivisible, indissoluble sovereign state to be known by the name Federal Republic of Nigeria, unquote. This means that anyone agitating for a breakup of the Federation of Nigeria is going against the Constitution. However, any person agitating for self-determination can do so through the National Assembly seeking for amendments of the Constitution regarding the indivisibility of Nigeria and to reflect the recognition of the agitating states. It is after this that the procedure can be said to be completed, but not excluding a referendum. Any self-determination not done in accordance with the Constitution and laws of the country will be illegal. The defendant is not only agitating for secession of the states of the Southeast, South, and some Middle Belt states. He is doing so using terrorism as a weapon. Terrorism has become a monster in the world today, and several groups have continued to use this weapon to form separate governments. In Nigeria, groups like Boko Haram, Lakurawa, IPOP have in recent years troubled Nigeria with terrorist activities. This terror group, by their activities, has denied innocent people the enjoyment of their fundamental rights. The action of the defendant and his terrorist organization have led to the bloodshed of innocent citizens, as well as security personnel who were going about their legitimate duty. His incitement through the broadcast on Radio Biafra as well as the social media platform of the group has led to the destruction of lives and property, as well as affect the daily life of his people of Southeast. The defendant did not only threaten the government of Nigeria, but his own people. This is seen in a broadcast while addressing the death of one of the commanders of IPOP, named Ikozo. The defendant on 25th day of April 2021 made a broadcast where he stated, and I quote, Ikozo was not killed on the battlefield, but was killed in his village in the middle of the night. Not only battlefield, because of the battlefield, no army or police can defeat him. Ever since Eastern Security Network was launched, I have not seen anybody tell me that their life has not improved since it was launched. Around 21 minutes, the defendant stated, vengeance is a monster of appetite, forever blood-tasty, never filled. Ikozo is in heaven. He is going to be revenged, and by God, he will be revenged. All those who had hands in Ikozo death are all dead. People walking. All of them.
So who killed the Ikozo?
He also stated that Ikozo will be mourned in a special way, just like how the Oba of Bini is buried with human heads.
On what he said about
he said Ikozo is more than an Oba.
Those of them that murdered Ikozo, do you have anything to say? You see?
Thank you.
You see?
There is no for that purpose. Corroboration refers to supporting or additional piece of evidence that supports another evidence. See Ogunbayo and the state citation supplied, where the Supreme Court held, and I quote, corroboration having been held not to be a technical terms of all, means no more than evidence tending to confirm, support, and strengthen other evidence sought to be corroborated. This evidence is to corroborate the evidence, the statements of the defendants. I must say here that the prosecution witnesses were consistent and calm in the giving of the evidence. Their calm demeanor, despite provocative questions under cross-examination, shows that them to be witness of truth. I carefully observed them, and the only conclusion to reach is that they are witness of truth. And this court
see a judge
readily believe them.
Witness of truth.
The defendants, on the other side, from its attitude in court, was truly very cocky, arrogant. He even stated that no court can convict him.
Of his attitude in
this is a direct affront on the power of the court, which this court will not take for granted, but will do justice. It is interesting to note that the defendant, who claimed to be a freedom fighter, has even caused more harm to his own people, who are predominantly Christian faiths. Can this be said to be agitation for self-determination? Not at all. Agitation for self-determination cannot be to the detriment
of whatever you are doing,
or to be detrimental to people who are supposed to be beneficiary of that self-determination. The usual sit-at-home order primarily affects his own people of the Southeast. The killing of people who disobey the order are his own people. Ordering of closure of churches and schools as well as markets also affects his own people. They are unable to trade, go to school, farm, even worship on such days. The threats of violence and death have prevented these people from going about their legitimate businesses. Are these acts of the defendants consistent with the agitation for self-determination? The answer is in the negative once again. The defendant was not elected by anybody, also cannot dictate for the people of Southeast, especially through intimidation and threats of violence. He is a terrorist. He must be treated as such. In final analysis, the prosecution has successfully established the 7-count charge against the defendant beyond reasonable doubt. Consequently, he is convicted on all the 7 counts.
See a judge.
By the time the next 30 minutes I go to the chambers, anybody is free to come and get a certified 2 copy of the judgment.
As the court pleases,
may I get to the chambers, the next 30 minutes it will be signed.
Thank you, my lord.
This is not judgment.
May I invite your lordship's attention to the title of this case. It is Federal Republic of Nigeria.
This is not judgment at all. This is not judgment. This is persecution.
Lord, the people, 200 million people of Federal Republic of Nigeria have brought Nnamdi Kanu before this court for acts of terrorism. And my lord, Nigeria
this is not judgment. How judgment? This is not judgment. At all. This is not judgment.
Lord, in the last few weeks or last few days, Nigeria has been a season of victims of and are victims of terrorism. But my lord, this afternoon, this honorable court delivered its judgment in which the convict Nnamdi Kanu was found guilty and convicted of offenses under Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. He has accordingly been convicted and it is now to be sentenced. My lord, the prosecutor has a duty to invite your lordship's attention to a few points that will guide your lordship in the sentencing. My lord, By the judgment just delivered, this court has again affirmed the long-standing principle that whenever Nigeria as a nation is confronted with moments, actions, and events that pose grave danger to its existence, independence, and unity, the judiciary stands firm as the stabilizing force of the country, guided by the wisdom, courage, and integrity of judges who serve within that arm of government. Terrorism, my Lord, remains one of the gravest threats to humanity. It is among the most devastating of atrocities in human history. As the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, the convict, through his broadcasts on Radio Biafra and through the group Armed Wing, the Eastern Security Network, repeatedly attacked Nigeria and took active steps to desegregate the country. By the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu for acts of terrorism, it is clear that justice has been served to the thousands of innocent Nigerians who lost their lives as a result of the inciting broadcasts and violent activities of Eastern Security Network. The blood of those who have died cries to heaven, and God in his mercies has given them justice. Justice has honored their cry. The families of more than 75 security officers who were murdered in the service of their fatherland will now find some comfort in this conviction.
This federal government prosecutor is giving his own judgment. Judgment in here. Judgment in here. After George in judgment in here, then the prosecutor of the federal government is giving his own judgment. Judgment abo no to watch, no to issue of one. I get here. I go away.
Those whose relatives were brutally killed and buried with counsel of the order of the convict here have not died in vain, because justice has been done. My Lord, the records before this court are replete with the losses suffered by citizens of Nigeria residing in the interstates of the Federation, citizens who, through no fault of their own, were forced to live in fear, had their businesses destroyed, and were reduced to paupers as a result of stay-at-home orders issued by the convict and violently enforced by the commanders of ESN. Justice has today set them free from oppression and economic strangulation caused by the terrorist activities of the convict. The convict now knows that the law is greater than any individual. Therefore, justice has been done to him too.
Because Barura this federal government prosecutor, because I don't know, that when a judge delivers judgment, the prosecutor or the prosecuting counsel, they deliver judgment in here. And who been here before? And who been here before? Hanine took take this thing personal. All of them took this thing personal. All these people, my judge they took it personal. To judge this in nature judgment. Prosecutor I don't want any judgment. They do judgment any sentence. No. Now we are waiting for you to say you are wasting our data here. We're wasting our data here. Sentence and
that Nigeria has both the power and the capacity to punish anyone who, through deliberate, reckless acts of terrorism, seeks to divide the country by attempting to create the so-called Republic of Biafra by force out of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My Lord, consequent upon the conviction, as nothing further remains but the lawful imposition of sentence, the punishment prescribed for the offenses in counts 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 is death penalty. Pursuant to Section 1(2)(h) of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013, my Lord, with all sense of humility, I say, sir, as a prosecutor, that this court has no discretion in that regard, and that the only sentence that your Lordship will impose for counts 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 is death sentence.
Get one free sachet when you buy 5 Sonia tomato mix or pepper and onion sachets.
How to sentence?
And he had,
Prosecutor Mazi Judge, how to sentence Nnamdi Kanu.
even within the court, has been marked by arrogance and a heart far removed from humility. When he was going out, he looked at me and said, God will bless me. He won't say God will punish me. He said, God will bless me. And I said,
see him? He has taken it personal. Don't take it personal now.
because I'm a blessed man. It is not him, a convict, who can now put a curse on me. He cannot do that. So in any event, my Lord, I'm not being personal, but I want to assure you that somebody in that position ought to show some penitence, ought to show some remorse, ought to throw away arrogance and self-serving attitudes. The court is further urged to take judicial notice of the fact that the convict established Radio Biafra, a broadcasting platform operating on several digital channels, including mobile radio, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook.
We are waiting now. Allow the judge to do the sentencing, not you as a prosecutor. Not you as a prosecutor. What does the judge sentencing? What does the judge sentencing Nnamdi Kanu? Network allow us please. I know
Facebook, WhatsApp, blogs, and Instagram. It is
allow us to hear now. Allow us to hear. We are waiting for the judge to do the sentencing.
Media through which the offenses were committed by making orders that prevent the commission of similar or related offenses, including forfeiture, confiscation, or restrictions of the means used to commit the act of terrorism as a form of preventive control. The prosecution praised this honorable court to impose restriction on the convict's access to digital devices, online accounts.
Network is really messing us up, but I think
Or internet facilities. In other words, my Lord,
these people don't care about the Southeast.
anywhere he may be kept until his execution in obedience to the sentencing. If he has access to these devices, and they are cheap and easy, and available everywhere in Nigeria, there will continue to be broadcast. Maybe he will claim he was not the one. At the moment, if you open to YouTube, you see a lot of rascals talking about the proceedings of the court, trying to twist and misread and mislead people with what happened in court. So we're asking that your Lordship should restrict him from having access to these devices. This honorable court, my Lord, has the statutory power to prevent convicts from further committing offences by making orders for the forfeiture, confiscation, and restriction by any means used for communication. We therefore pray that the court to order the forfeiture of all the broadcasting equipment, digital devices, and all electronic materials seized from the convict and currently in the custody of the Department of State Security, State Service. In particular, the radio transmitter.
Network, allow us, please.
Trans 50L, unlawfully imported to the country, should be forfeited to the federal government of Nigeria. My Lord, we want to say, sir, with all respect, that it might be argued that access to information, access to digital devices may be argued within the constitutional rights, but it's not absolute. So therefore, sir, if your lordships want to order his restriction, your lordship may give him a right to acquire any, but with the permission, with the authority of National Security Advisor and the Controller General of the correctional facility that he may be put. Therefore, my Lord, it's not an absolute or free right for him to begin to acquire those digital devices that may encourage him to reenact or to begin to commit the same or similar offense under his right to freedom of speech. So we are saying, my Lord, that your lordship should restrict it. My Lord, considering that the community has to be in a custodial facility, we are asking your lordship to direct that for the safety of the convict, for his safety, for his security, and for the protection of his life until your sentence is executed, I respectfully, sir, as prosecutor, plead with your lordship to direct that he be kept in the safest custodial center anywhere in Nigeria, because his safety is very important. Your lordship need to take judicial notice of what happened when Simon Ekpa was sentenced in Finland. There were lots of talks. The convict has enemies. He has friends. But no one can say the volume or the number of his enemies who may want to eliminate him. So we are asking, my Lord, that your lordship order the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to keep him in the safest custodial center anywhere in Nigeria.
Anywhere.
You know, and if I may say with all sincerity, I am not too sure that will be the ideal place. So I'm urging your lordship with all sense of responsibility to preserve his life until he answers his sentence. So I thank your lordship and I pray that the incidents of terrorism will cease from Nigeria, from north to east to northwest to north central, and as we see, may God thank you, my Lord.
There is no doubt that the convict has waived his right to be present through his unruly attitude, the habitual unruly attitude to be in court when the judgment was read. But we must still give him opportunity to hear one or two things from him, but not personal through his person. Since his consultant is here and the offense has to do with death sentence, I will call his consultant, that was his lawyer before he converted him to consultant, if he has any allocutors.
Yield this very task to Honorable Obina Agocha, who is better qualified than me being the member of House of Representatives who represents Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
It's okay. Honorable, let me have your full name and restrict yourself to allocutors. Allocutors is what will mitigate the sentence. He's our brother. Let us hear you. You tell us your name. You can't, because of your ruling behavior, deprive him of allocutors. Can I hear from you?
Thank you, my Lord.
Our brother is talking.
My name is Right Honorable Obi Agocha. I represent the good people of Iguano, Umahi North and Umahi South Federal Constituency in the 10th National Assembly. My Lord, I am the direct representative of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. That's why you see me here almost every time, showing presence and also showing solidarity with him. The matter has come to a closure for now. I'm not his lawyer. I wouldn't know whether they will seek appeal. But for now, my Lord, he's my brother. He's my friend. I went to school with him. We attended primary and secondary school together, though he was my junior. But it is my responsibility and obligation as a member of the National Assembly to represent him as well. My Lord, I plead for mercy, I plead for clemency, and I appeal for peace and for stability of not just the Southeast, but as well as Nigeria. Like the prosecutor said, Nigeria is bleeding over the last few days, and we must bring some of these issues to bear and to understand how to find common solutions to our common problem of terrorism. I also wish to appeal to the prosecution team that it is being done to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The other people out there also doing more worse than him.
Please,
sorry, sir.
I asked for a locutor.
Yes, sir.
Please, don't
so, I apologize, sir. So, I want the court to take judicial notice of that this trial has gone on for almost 10 years. Mazi Kanu is almost 56 or 57 years old now. He has been absent in his family life, his children, his community, his family. So I plead for the Lord to show mercy, to temper justice with mercy. And as we move forward, it shall be great for our country. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm a friend of the court. I won't come from the other side of the government. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the court. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I will consider all this, and I will rise and come back by 10 minutes to 4. You may go and come back 10 minutes to 4 for the sentencing. I will rise and come back.
The judge will come back by 10 minutes to 4 for the sentencing of Nnamdi Kanu. So by 10 minutes to 4, if I am here, I will come back. If I'm not here, I will do a report. Kaichereno, kemecha sentencing. Tupa ya mari hayi yuko. Ndewono.